The other day, I was on a coaching call with some of my inner circle leaders, and these are some of the folks that like the highest level in Rooftop that have done a lot of deep work with us, and they really put into play the principles of Rooftop leadership at the highest level. And one of them is a leader in a manufacturing company in the Midwest, and he was talking about how this economic crisis from the pandemic has just put such a pinch on the business. And one of his unfortunate roles is he has to have a lot of hard conversations about furlough with employees of that company. He's the one that has to give them the bad news. And he was telling me that, like, here lately, and it's a good problem to have, some things have opened up and they've been able to bring back some of those employees who were furloughed. But he said what he noticed was, and I'll call him Jason. Jason said what he noticed was that when these people came back, people he had known for years, and look, you guys, this guy is a straight up, authentic, salt of the earth leader, right? I mean, just really, really got his head on his shoulders. And but he said when these folks come back to work, they avoid him like the plague. They look at me, Jason said, like I am the face of death itself. And they skirt around me and they avoid me. And if I call one of them over to ask him a question about what's happening on the floor, their face is as white as a ghost. And, you know, these are the kinds of realities, micro realities, that are happening all over the nation right now, all over the world. And whether you're a business owner, a mid-level leader, or an employee, you can relate to what I'm talking about, can't you? I mean, like, this is a real thing. Hard conversations are part of our reality now as the economic constraints and realities from this pandemic start to make themselves known 11, 12, 13 weeks into this crisis. That's why, you know, the whole element of human connection in spite of the new normal is our theme on this new time horizon that we've declared at Rooftop, coming out of the pandemic period of crisis, where now, okay, between June and Labor Day, we're in this new time horizon, this weird new normal, where we've got to think through how we connect. Those are the people that are going to be the most relevant on the other side. And I will tell you that I really believe hard conversations are going to be part and parcel of this. Economic realities are going to drive that. People are going to have to get furloughed. People are going to get laid off. People are going to get fired. You're going to have to tell vendors that you don't use their services anymore. It's not easy. And because we're meaning-seeking, emotional, social story animals, we thrive on connection. And our relationship portfolio is our greatest asset. You know, it's our best book of business, especially in a crisis. So how do we do that? How do we have these hard conversations? And I know some of you are hard-nosed and you've got this stuff down, but, you know, if you're a leader of people and you truly value people, there's nothing easy about this. And even if you're quote-unquote good at it, it takes a toll after a while. And there's always ways to do it better. It's something we're working hard at Rooftop Leadership right now to scope this out, because we have to have some very hard conversations in Afghanistan, right? We've had to have conversations with tribal elders that we've worked with for years that we're not coming back to their communities, and I'm still haunted by those. But there's a way to do it with dignity and respect, and where you can still maintain the relationship and keep that intact in many cases. One of the first things I'll tell you that I'd like to see you do is I'd like to see you prepare. If you know a hard conversation is coming up, take the time to prepare, because you're going to go into a sympathetic state in some ways. You're emotionally, you go to a high level of fight, flight, or freeze almost, where your anxieties go up. I'd like you to prepare to where you can bring that emotional temperature down so that it sets an emotional temperature in the room that's much more manageable for the conversation that you have to have. Pre-engagement preparation is a great way to do that. I'll ask Wes when he edits this to drop that link in there. You can also go to our website, rooftopleadership.com, search up PEP, and go right to it. It's free. It's a great little 3 to 4 minute drill that you can do 5 to 10 minutes before every high stakes engagement, before that hard conversation, to bring yourself down to a parasympathetic state. So prepare for that engagement. The next thing is, you know, people don't expect you to be nice to them, but they do expect you to be straight with them, right? And so just reminding yourselves that the more straight and the more direct you can be on that, the better. Now, that doesn't mean that we hurt people's feelings. It doesn't mean that we're cold. It simply means that we are nested. What we say is nested in the context of the higher purpose and the higher goals of the organization, right? Whatever actions we're taking are nested with that higher goal. And I think it's important to convey it that way, right? Because that will be a great anchor point for you, even though it's not easy. You know, nesting your actions in the context of the larger purpose of the organization or the team and where it's going is always, always useful. The other thing is to be careful about damaging someone's identity, right? Because we are all meaning-seeking creatures. We take stock of our identity all the time. We're social. We assess our worth in the context of other people. And without even meaning to, you can make a comment about someone's performance or even, you know, economic relevance. I even think non-essential in many cases can be a harmful term. How would you, I mean, are you one of the ones that's called non-essential? I mean, maybe you celebrate that. I don't. You know, I think we've just got to be careful about how we use words in this context, not from a touchy-feely way, but as humans, we take things right to our core. We take it right to our identity. I remember one time I was coaching an Afghan army officer about the way that his folks were not properly pulling security when we were on a combat patrol. He took that right to his identity. And I should have started that by saying, hey, your soldiers are great soldiers. Like, they're really motivated and they're working hard. There's a few little areas that they need to work on performance-wise. Would it be okay if I share that with you? You see the difference? We can buffer to protect people's identity when we've got to have those hard conversations. That is a tool we're developing heavily in the Rooftop incubator right now, and we're going to have on the streets soon. And then finally, I think it's important, you know, to, it's not finally, I've got two more, to rehearse, right? If you're going to have a hard conversation, it's important to rehearse. We don't rehearse enough our high stakes engagements. And there's a real technique to doing that. But taking the time to rehearse the engagement before it happens can be very powerful. And finally, after you've done the engagement, have a micro recovery, even if it's turning off the lights in your office and just doing some deep lower body breaths or another PEP at the end to bring yourself down to a parasympathetic state and do a little bit of a micro recovery. Give yourself permission to recover from that, metabolize that anxiety out of your body, because otherwise it starts to stack up, especially if you have to do like Jason did, where you have to deliver a lot of hard conversations, okay? So those are some tips that you can put into play right away on hard conversations. I hope that serves you. Hope you'll go to rooftopleadership.com, become permanent part of our tribe as we move through this human connections in spite of the new normal. Thanks for what you do, and remember that fear is contagious, but so is leadership. I'll see you on the rooftop.